Hey everybody, it's Todd here. I'm actually coming on here right now just to share in my own study of one of the things that I do every day. And just felt like because today is Tuesday, right? It's February 22nd, 2022, all twos, that I would just love to come on and share something with you guys. So I have a workshop coming up at the kind of second week of March. And I am going to talk more about that workshop and what I'm going to cover. But really, for now, I just want to get into studying this book. So, this book is The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard. This is one of the most powerful books on manifestation, on mindset that there is. And I'm doing something a little bit differently. I'm reading this book, the first 6 chapters of this book, over and over again, out loud every day for 30 days. And then I'll probably move on to another section. Why am I doing this? Because that doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, I'm doing this because we become what we think about most of the time. And if we don't have new thoughts in our mind, in fact, he talks about this in here, if we don't have new thoughts to think from, we're never going to be able to have new results in our life. The idea is to find the new words that you resonate with, that build a new idea in your mind to operate from. And the one I am building is my connection with divine infinite intelligence and the ability to manifest what it is that I want in my life. And this is what my spirit spoke to me for. Now, why the first 6 chapters? Well, it's because that's about a half an hour for me to read out loud. And the more that I read this over and over, and I think this is about day 4 or 5, I don't really remember, of me doing this, the more I read this, the more I get out of it. And so what I'm going to do is start reading and add commentary throughout. So I'm streaming here on LinkedIn, I'm streaming on YouTube, I'm streaming on Facebook, streaming on TikTok over here as well. And hopefully I'll be able to answer a few questions as we go throughout. So if you have questions, go ahead and type them into the chat so I can see them and be able to answer them. But really, this is my study. So when people ask me what I do to study, this is it. This is what I'm doing and how I'm growing myself. And so I'm going to actually pause as I read some of this, and I am going to add a little bit of commentary for you guys. And if you're in the Reprogram Your Mind Facebook group, glad to have you here. And I actually have a couple of other study groups that I've done in the past. I thought about doing it with this book, but I need to read it for myself right now. But I have You Were Born Rich and Psycho-Cybernetics, and there's a whole playlist of those to be able to go through and see more of what I study and add that commentary here. If this brings value to you, please like and share or comment as well. So I'm going to start here. Chapter 1, Power of Awareness. I am. Open quote, all things when they are admitted are made manifest by the light, for everything that is made manifest is light. Close quote, Ephesians 5:13. The light is consciousness. Consciousness is one manifesting in legions of forms or levels of consciousness. There is no one that is not all that is, for consciousness, though expressed in infinite series of levels, is not divisional. There is no real separation or gap in consciousness. I am cannot be divided. I may conceive of myself to be a rich man, a poor man, a beggar man, or a thief, but the center of my being remains the same, regardless of the concept I hold of myself. At the center of manifestation, there is only one I am, manifesting in legions of forms or concepts of itself. And I am that I am. And I love this so much because this shows that we're all connected. This idea that there's not a divine God or infinite intelligence that's separate from me. It's a part of me. It's within me. I am one with it. We might be separated, but we're not divided. We're not two different beings. And this idea that this infinite conscious intelligence is manifesting into legions of forms or concept of itself is really powerful. You, me, everybody, we're all a manifestation of that one consciousness. That's a concept of itself, of divine intelligence. And then the legions of forms, I mean, that's everything from the water that I'm drinking, my glass, to the money that we're earning. We're all one and the same. There's no difference between any of us. So let me keep going. I am is the self-definition of the absolute, the foundation on which everything rests. I am is the first cause substance. I am is the self-definition of God. And when we use those words, I am, that's incredibly important for us to be aware of, because we're using that cause, that consciousness, to create who and what we are. Open quote, I am hath sent me unto you. I am that I am. Be still and know that I am God. These are the words that God uses to reference itself. I am is a feeling of permanent awareness. The very center of consciousness is the feeling of I am. I may forget who I am, where I am, what I am, but I cannot forget that I am. The awareness of being remains regardless of the degree of forgetfulness of who, where, and what I am. I am is that which is amid unnumbered forms is ever the same. The great discovery of cause reveals that, good or bad, man is actually the arbiter of his own fate, and that it is his concept of himself that determines the world in which he lives. That is so powerful. There's a lot of people that are frustrated about conditions and circumstances in the world. They're not earning enough money, or they don't have the love in their life, or they're angry at the government or other people or capitalism or whatever it is. But I love that this says that it is our concept of ourselves that determines the world we live in. So if we want to change the world, we need to stop changing everything outside of us and go inside to that first cause, which is our concept of self, our connection with the divine, and who we think and believe we are. In other words, if you are experiencing ill health, knowing the truth about cause, you cannot attribute the illness to anything other than to the particular arrangement of the basic cause substance, an arrangement which is defined by your concept, I am unwell. This is why you are told, open quote, let the weak man say, I am strong, close quote. For by his assumption, the cause substance I am is rearranged and must therefore manifest that which its arrangement affirms. This principle governs every aspect of your life, be it social, financial, intellectual, or spiritual. Just think about that for a moment, is that your concept of yourself, the image you hold in your heart that you act and operate from, it controls your social experiences in life. The people that you hang around with, the love that you have in your life, that concept of self controls the amount of money that you earn. And I speak of that from personal experience. That's how I was able to multiply my income from $35,000 a year by a factor of 10. It controls how you think, your intellect, the thoughts and ideas and assumptions and beliefs that you have, and it controls your spiritual connection with the divine. Let me keep reading here. I am is that reality to which whatever happens, we must turn for an explanation for the phenomena of life. It is I am's concept of itself that determines the form and scenery of existence. Everything depends upon its attitude towards itself. That which it will not affirm as true of itself cannot awaken in this world. Listen closely. That is, your concept of yourself, such as I am strong, I am secure, I am love, determines the world in which you live. In other words, when you say, I am a man, I'm a father, I'm an American, you are not defining different I ams, you are defining different concepts or arrangement of the one cause substance, the one I am. Even in the phenomena of nature, if the tree were to articulate it, would say, I am a tree, I am an apple tree, I am a fruitful tree. I want to go right back here. Everything depends upon its attitude towards itself, your attitude towards yourself. Every single thing that you have in your life is about your attitude towards self. And that which you do not affirm as true for yourself cannot awaken in the world, cannot manifest. People want to know the secret to manifest more and more money, to become a millionaire. You have to manifest that out of the assumption, the belief, the concept, and affirm it as true for yourself already now. We are talking about affirmations. We're talking about affirmations. We become what we think about most of the time. When you know, going back to the book, when you know that consciousness is the one and only reality, conceiving itself to be something good, bad, or indifferent, and becoming that which it conceived itself to be, you are free from the tyranny of second causes, free from the belief that there are causes outside of your own mind that can affect your life. This is what is so powerful. There's two things that people need to understand to change their life: who they are, a manifestation of the I am, and number two, how to control their mind. And then you're free from blaming other people, conditions, and circumstances for why life sucks. You take the responsibility and you start to work within it. In the state of consciousness of the individual is found the explanation of the phenomena of life. If man's concept of himself were different, everything in his world would be different. His concept of himself being what it is, everything in his world must be as it is. Thus, it is abundantly clear that there is only one I am, and you are that I am. And while I am is infinite, you, by your concept of self, are displaying only a limited aspect of the infinite I am. Open quote, build thee more stately mansions, O my soul, as the swift seasons roll. Leave thy low vaulted past. Let each new temple, nobler than the last, shut thee from heaven with a dome more vast, till thou at length art free, leaving thine own overgrown shell of life's unresting sea. I'm reading from The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard. That's the close of chapter 1. This is, again, for those of you joining, this is my own personal study that I just thought I'd come on and share today because it's February 2nd, 2022. I'm reading the first 6 chapters of this book out loud every single day over the next 30 days to really allow these concepts to dwell deep within my subconscious, within my heart. And I'm stopping and giving commentary for you guys as well. If you like and appreciate this, slam the like button, and let's get some more people in here and share this amazing, amazing knowledge with them. Chapter 2, Consciousness. It is only by a change of consciousness that by actually changing your concept of self that you can build more stately mansions, the manifestations of higher and higher concepts. And by manifesting, I love this definition here, by manifesting is meant experiencing the results of these concepts in the world. It is of vital importance to understand clearly just what consciousness is. The reason lies in the fact that consciousness is the one and only reality. It is the first and only cause substance of the phenomena of life. Nothing has existence for man save through the consciousness he has of it. Therefore, it is to consciousness you must turn, for it is the only foundation on which the phenomena of life can be explained. This is so beautiful. People want to know what manifesting is, like creating out of thin air. There wasn't anything there, and now poof, all of a sudden there is something. That's not manifesting. That's sheer creation from unorganized matter. Manifesting is the experiencing of the results of these concepts in your world, the concept you hold of yourself. Manifests in your world. The environment is nothing but a looking glass, a mirror reflecting back to you what is in your heart and what you believe and consent to be true. So if you believe that you are meant to struggle, you will manifest struggle in your life. That is what you will experience. If you believe and conceive of yourself to be a wealthy, healthy, happy person, you will manifest that in your experience. And you cannot manifest something unless you have the consciousness of it. So you have to just become aware. You have to become conscious of the idea of abundance, of health and wealth to be able to experience it. If we accept the idea of a first cause, it would follow that the evolution of that cause could never result in anything foreign to itself. That is so beautiful. Everything is consciousness. Every single thing. Good people, bad people. Easiness and struggle. All of that. If we accept the idea of a first cause, consciousness, it would follow that the evolution of that cause would never result in anything foreign to itself. When bad things happen, that is still God at work. That is still consciousness at work. There are people who act from their shadow selves, from the dark places of themselves. They still have that divine within them. They are not separate. They are not something different. We are all connected. We are all one. So the money that you want to manifest and enjoy is absolutely 100% connected to the divine nature of God that exists in the world and within you. That is, if the first cause substance is light, all of its evolutions, fruits, and manifestations would remain light. This is where there's no good or bad that actually exists, but how we think and perceive it to be. All is light, all is manifested from one consciousness, all is good. The first cause substance being consciousness, all evolutions, fruits, and phenomena must remain consciousness, which means that the rock is conscious. The water is conscious. All that could be observed, everything you perceive through your five senses, would be a higher or lower form variation of the same thing. In other words, if your consciousness is the only reality, it must also be the only substance. Consequently, what appears to you as circumstances, conditions, and even material objects are really only the products of your own consciousness. Not even now just our like the God consciousness that we all have. It is also conscious awareness of yourself, of what you perceive and what you are projecting into the world. Nature then, as a thing or a complex of things external to your mind, must be rejected. You and your environment cannot be regarded as existing separately. You and your world are one. This is the secret of life. I promise you it is. And when you embrace this secret, you take full and total and complete responsibility for everything in your life. Therefore, you must turn from the objective appearance of things to the subjective center of things, your consciousness, if you truly desire to know the cause of the phenomena of life and how to use this knowledge to realize your fondest dreams. In the midst of the apparent contradictions, antagonisms, and contrasts in your life, what we perceive to be as good and bad, there's only one principle at work, only your consciousness operating. Difference does not consist in variety of substance, but in variety of arrangement of the same cause substance, your consciousness. Variety of arrangement of the same cause substance. So there are poor people and rich people. That's just an arrangement of consciousness. That's all it is. There's no difference there. Someone that gives life and someone who's a murderer, still the same consciousness together. The world moves with motiveless necessity. Think about that for a minute. There's a lot of people that are blaming governments for controlling us, and that is the ultimate victim mindset, okay? Or that nature or the world is against you, with storms, with the pandemic, all of these things. And what it says here is the world moves with motiveless necessity. The world just is. It just exists, and we exist in a part of that. By this is meant that it has no motive of its own, but is under the necessity of manifesting your concept, the arrangement of your mind. We are manifesting poverty. We are manifesting greed. We are manifesting the pandemic. We are manifesting division. We're the cause of it because of our own consciousness. So the world is under the necessity of manifesting your concept, the arrangement of your mind, and your mind is always arranged in the image of all that you believe and consent to be true. You absolutely manifest struggle in your life because you believe life is about struggle. You manifest poverty in your life because you believe that you are struggling in poverty. The rich man, the poor man, the beggar man, or thief are not different minds, but different arrangements of the same mind, in the same sense that a piece of steel, when magnetized, differs not in substance from its demagnetized state, but in the arrangement and order of its molecules. Now listen up, because we talk about the law of attraction all of the time. This absolutely defines it. A single electron revolving in a specified orbit constitutes a unit of magnetism. When a piece of steel or anything else, yourself, is demagnetized, the revolving electrons have not stopped. There is only the arrangement of particles so that they produce no outside or perceptible effect. When the particles are arranged at random and mixed up in all directions, the substance is said to be demagnetized. When you do not know what you want, when you feel stuck, when you have no goal, when you are living life without intention, when you're living by accident, you are unorganized. Your energy is unorganized and will not attract anything greater to you. I actually just sent a coaching proposal off to someone who says, I feel stuck in life. I don't really know what I want. Well, then life is giving you exactly that. But when particles are marshaled in ranks so that a number of them face in one direction, the substance acts like a magnet. Whatever you focus on expands. Your focus determines your reality. Where you place your attention and intention becomes your reality. Magnetism is not generated, it's displayed. Health, wealth, beauty, and genius are not created. They are only manifested by the arrangement of your mind. That is, by your concept of yourself. The importance of this in your daily life should be immediately apparent. The basic nature of the primal cause is consciousness. Therefore, the ultimate substance of all things is consciousness. Again, we are reading through The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard. This is part of my daily study. I think this is day 4 or 5. I could check on my phone, but it's up there. So I'm reading this out loud every single day for at least 30 days, these 6 chapters that I'm reading today. Obviously, when I sit down and read them, I spend 30 minutes and just read through all of that. Okay? Chapter 3, The Power of Assumption. This is one of the most important chapters in this book right here. So listen closely. Man's chief delusion is his conviction that there are causes other than his own state of consciousness. I got to read it again. Man's chief delusion is his conviction that there are causes other than his own state of consciousness. It's a political party. It's a government. It's my boss's fault. It's my parents' fault. That is the biggest addiction that we have, is looking for outer causes for our own reality and blaming those outer causes. We are lying to ourselves because deep down we know that we are more powerful than what we are expressing. We just don't know how to express it differently. Remember, I said there's 2 things you need to learn. You need to know who you are. You are a soul. You don't have a soul. Number 2, how to control your mind. All that befalls of a man, all that is done by him, and all that comes from him happens as the result of his state of consciousness. And ladies, I apologize for the masculine gender in which this is written. We were less aware in the 1950s when this was written. When was Power of Awareness written? Like 50-something, I think. 1952. We were less aware. And we were speaking more in the biblical sense, where almost everything is masculine. And this is actually, I think, before the awakening of the masculine and feminine energies being born into a single individual, which is what's happening now. Okay? A man's consciousness is all that he thinks and desires and loves, and all that he believes to be true and consents to or agrees to. That is why a change of consciousness is necessary before you can change your outer world. You don't change the outside. You stop fighting against the outside. You change within first. That's where all of our work has to be done, in personal growth. Rain falls as a result of a change in the temperature in the higher regions of the atmosphere. So, in like manner, a change of circumstance must happen as a result of a change in the state of consciousness. Be ye transformed, open quote, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, close quote. To be transformed, the whole basis of your thoughts must change. But your thoughts, and listen to this is why I'm reading this every single day out loud to myself over the next 30 days. Your thoughts cannot change unless you have new ideas, for you think from your ideas. And it's the repetition of those ideas over time that starts to change your heart, that changes your conditioning, reprograms your subconscious. That's why I'm reading this over and over, to reprogram my subconscious. All transformation begins with an intense burning desire to be transformed. The first step in the renewing of the mind is desire. You must want to be different before you can begin to change yourself. Then, let me just ask a question. We've just got a handful of people on YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook, and we've got 67 people here in TikTok. Who really wants to change? Today is let's use twos. Type a 2 in the chat if you really are committed to transforming yourself, if you really want change. So let's see a flood of 2s for Tuesday. All right? This is your opportunity to affirm what it is that you want. Okay, so a couple of people on a daily basis, 2. Not a ton of 2s. There you go. Rebecca, it's good to see you on there. Here we go. There's a couple more 2s. Tons of 2s from Backroads Journey. Awesome. Why is this important right now to take this time and type a bunch of 2s in? Yeah, sure, it lets me know that you're listening, but you're telling the universe right now, I am ready for change. It's not to me so much as it's a signal of your intent. Natalie puts it on LinkedIn. I love it. Thank you. Listen here. Once you have that desire to change, and you all just said you did, then you must make your future a present fact. And you do this by assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled. This is one of the keys of Neville Goddard's entire message, is possessing the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Let's talk more about that. By desiring to be other than what you are, you can create the ideal of what you want to be, and assume you are already that person. If the assumption is persisted in until it becomes your dominant feeling, the attainment of your ideal is inevitable. There's nothing that's going to stop you from reaching your goal if you believe, feel, and act as if you are already that person. That's what we talk about when we say assumption. But most of our assumptions are that I can't do it, I'm not good enough, I don't have the money, the timing's not right. And that is our assumption, and that's what we act from, and that's the results that we get. We can never manifest anything different unless we change our assumption to the feeling of the wish fulfilled and act from that. The ideal you hope to achieve is already ready for incarnation. Like what you want is already here. It's all ready to come to you. What's keeping it at bay is the feeling that you have in your heart. It's like pushing it away. But unless you yourself offer it human parentage, it is incapable of birth. What you want is here. You can achieve it, but until you embody it within your mind and your heart, it is not going to manifest ever. You will never experience it. Therefore, your attitude should be one in which, having desires to express a higher state, you alone accept the task of incarnating this new and greater value of yourself. I can't do it for you. Zanetta, Natalie, Rebecca, you guys can't do it for anyone else. You can only do it for yourself. In giving birth to your ideal, you must bear in mind that the methods of mental and spiritual knowledge are entirely different. Listen closely here. This is the difference between school and awareness, I think. This is a point that is truly understood by probably not more than one person in a million. You know a thing mentally by looking at it from the outside, by comparing it with other things, analyzing and defining it. That's what we do at school. Whereas you can only know a thing spiritually by becoming it. You must be the thing itself and not merely talk about it or look at it. You must be like the moth in search of his idol, the flame. You've got to be one with what it is that you want. Open quote. Who, spurred with true desire, plunging at once into the sacred fire, folded his wings within till he became one color and one substance with the flame. He only knew the flame who in it burned, and only he could tell who never to tell returned. Listen to this. This is where everybody gets stuck. Right here. Just as the moth in his desire to know the flame was willing to destroy himself, so must you, in becoming a new person, be willing to die to your present self. People want to carry all their baggage and bullshit with them into the future. People want to do as little as possible to change. This is from, this is not just this book here. This is human nature, and we all know it to be true. We want to lie to ourselves about it, but we know it to be true. I know it from my own experience. When I have been resistant to change, I've been lazy. And as someone who worked as a career coach since 2012, who worked with youth in social services prior to that, we look for the fastest, easiest, cheapest, most painless way to change, and we never get there. We never reach a destination. We never actually end up having new results. We never actually change anything because we're not willing to do the work. We're not willing to let go of our old life. The cost of your new life is your old one. And you do the minimum amount possible, and it never works because you're not all in. You have to be all in this becoming. Let me continue. You must be conscious of being healthy if you are to know what health is. You must be conscious of being secure if you are to know what security is. You must be conscious of wealth to be able to be wealthy. Therefore, to incarnate a new and greater value of yourself, you must assume that you are already that which you want to be, and then live by faith in that assumption, which is not yet incarnate in the body of your life, which you don't have evidence for. In confidence that this new value or state of consciousness will become incarnated through your absolute fidelity to the assumption that you are that which you desire to be. You have to stick to it. You have to stick to that new belief. You can't just tell yourself once and then forget about it. Every day you have to be realigning yourself with that new belief, that fidelity, not straying from it. Being able to regulate your mind to control it is what is going to take in your life to manifest what it is that you desire. I don't care if it's the dream job, dream spouse, releasing weight, earning more money. The principle is true to all of that. This is what wholeness means. This is what integrity means. They mean submission of the whole self to the feeling of the wish fulfilled in certainty. That new state of consciousness is the renewing of mind which transforms. There is no order in nature corresponding to this willing submission of the self to the ideal beyond the self. Therefore, it is the height of folly to expect the incarnation of a new and greater concept of self to come about by natural evolutionary process. It's not just going to happen to you. Things just don't get better on their own without intention. You have to have intention for this to work. You have to possess that feeling of the wish fulfilled. You have to embrace it. You have to live with it from your heart at all times. And it's just silliness to think things will just get better tomorrow because tomorrow's a new day. That which requires a state of consciousness to produce its effect obviously cannot be effected without such a state of consciousness. And in your ability to assume the feeling of a greater life, to assume a new concept of yourself, You possess what the rest of nature does not possess: imagination, the instrument by which you create your world. See, the difference between you and an oak tree with the acorn, or you and an animal, is you have the ability to choose what you become. You plant a carrot seed in the ground, it is destined and determined to be a carrot. You and I can change our concept of self. We're the only ones that can do that. Your imagination is the instrument, the means whereby your redemption from slavery, sickness, and poverty is effected. If you refuse to assume the responsibility of the incarnation of a new and higher concept of yourself, then you reject the means, the only means whereby your redemption, that is, the attainment of your ideal, can be effected. Imagination is the only redemptive power in the universe. However, your nature is such that it is optional to you whether you remain in your present concept of yourself, a hungry being longing for freedom, health, and security, or choose to become the instrument of your own redemption, imagining yourself as that which you want to be, and thereby satisfying your hunger and redeeming yourself. Open quote. Oh, be strong then and brave, pure, patient, and true. The work that is yours, let no other hand do. For the strength of all need is faithfully given from the fountain within you, the kingdom of heaven. Close quote. So real quick, we are reading through The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard. Absolutely powerful book. I've been reading this every day. I think this is day number 4. And I'm reading this every day out loud to myself. I just thought I'd come share it today because it's Tuesday. And let you guys in on what I study and what I teach. Now, I also, I got 3 more chapters to go here in The Power of Awareness, 3 more chapters today. But I also want to tell you, I have a workshop coming up March 7th through the 11th. This is 5 days to reprogram your mind for success. And if that is something that you're not aware of, I would love to have you join. I'm going to throw that link into the comments. It looks like it can only get into YouTube. Can't get it on Facebook for some reason, or LinkedIn. But if you're watching this, send me a message. If you're not registered, I'll get you a link. On TikTok, if you guys, and you can actually click on my name up at the top. Still listen to my live, go in there, and then I've got a link in my bio that you can click on to register for that. It's a free workshop, 5 days, where I'm going to be teaching this. And I'll answer some more questions or talk about that maybe later as well. So let me continue on here. Chapter 4 of The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard. Desire. Love my hoodie, Tigers. I know, right? Detroit Tigers. I'm just kind of casual today because my kids are home from school. Okay, Chapter 4, Desire. Listen up. The changes which take place in your life as a result of your changed concept of yourself always appear to the unenlightened to be the result of not a change of your consciousness, but of chance, outer cause, or coincidence. Luck. We think people are lucky. Of course you've multiplied your income, Todd. You must be very lucky. Now, was I lucky when my wife had a brain tumor removed? Was I lucky to be earning $35,000 a year and have my boss put me in tears on a regular basis, literally? Was I lucky to be weighing 300 pounds and on anti-anxiety and depression medications? I came from very similar circumstances to all of you guys. And it amazes me because I used to look at other people and say, I don't know how you can do it. You must be lucky. It must be easier for you. Because I didn't understand. I didn't have the awareness of how to change my mind, of how to change my concept of self. However, the only fate governing your life is the fate determined by your own concepts, your own assumptions. For an assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. Listen to that. Any assumption, even if it's false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. I mean, this is why we have people that believe that the earth is flat now. right? And if you're a flat earther, we need to have a conversation, right? But it's just because you've listened to that stuff so many times, that's what you believe. This is why we have people that believe they can never get ahead and never do. This is why we have people who believe that they are victims of government and act like it. Any assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. The difference is people are using their senses. They're using their five senses, these little antennae up here. They're using their senses to look at the world and choosing to believe in that reality more than the inner one in their hearts. The ideal you seek and hope to attain will not manifest itself, will not be realized by you until you have imagined that you are already that ideal. There is no escape for you except by a radical psychological transformation of yourself, except by your assumption of the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Therefore, make results or accomplishment the crucial test of your ability to use your imagination. I want to go back to this sentence. A radical transformation of yourself. You can't take the easy way out. You can't shortcut it. You have to absolutely commit with the highest degree of desire and will and faith possible. A radical transformation. You can't just change a little bit. You have to change everything. Everything depends on your attitude towards yourself. And this is quoted from the first chapter as well. That which you will not affirm as true for yourself can never be realized by you. For that attitude alone is the necessary condition by which you realize your goal. Yes. So there's a question on here that's perfectly timed. Can you explain subconscious versus being present? I thought we ran by subconscious 99% of the time. Your subconscious, again, with the stick person, the subconscious is the bottom half of the circle here. Your subconscious is in control of your life, 95 to 98% of your thoughts, feelings, behaviors, actions, beliefs, the image and concept of yourself, all that you believe and consent to be true is like a program in your subconscious that runs your life. Okay, you have to change that. This is what the book is saying. You have to change that in your subconscious in order to be able to change any results in your life. You have to change that belief and concept to be able to possess the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Okay, but most of us are using our imagination incorrectly. They said your imagination is the thing that sets you free. Well, most of us are imagining the worst case scenario is going to happen, that tomorrow is going to be worse than it is to be today. Or we're using our memory. That's another faculty up here, to look back at all the times and regret it in the past. And thereby you lock your mind up. You lock your mind up into one viewpoint of yourself and the reality that you exist in, and that continues to manifest over and over. In order to be master of our mind, we have to master our attention, which I'll get to later on here, and I think it's chapter 5 or 6. But you can't let your mind run away with the story that it's telling yourself. The best way to stop your mind from running away with itself and telling a story that you don't want to be telling or affirming is to be present in the moment. So bring all your tools and faculties here into this moment. The problem is we've never understood what our mental faculties are and how to be able to create something different. We're stuck because we haven't read the user's manual on how to use our mind. Which again, when I teach my workshop coming up March 7th, I'll talk more about for sure. Let me keep going here. I hope that answers your question, Sabrina. Everything depends on your attitude towards self. That which you will not affirm as true for yourself can never be realized by you. For that attitude alone is the necessary condition by which you realize your goal. All transformation is based upon suggestion. And this can work only where you lay yourself completely open to an influence. And we have to be present for that to happen. Suggestion is anything that comes from other people Watch the YouTube video on why the earth is flat. Well, you're in a state of suggestion, right? To be open-minded, and you entertain that idea up here. You perceive it through your senses. You entertain this idea up here. And through repetition, it starts to change the image and concept of yourself and all that you consent to be true. And all of a sudden you believe that the earth is not a globe. It works that way with your bank account. If you believe that you are poor and you go and look at your bank account and say, yep, I don't have any money, and now you're thinking about it up here over and over again, and then get emotionally involved with it and start identifying with the greatest power there is, the first cause substance, I am poor, then you become that way more and more. But you could listen to my words, you could read from Neville Goddard yourself over and over again and allow those words to come in the form of a suggestion into your conscious mind, and you play with those ideas over and over through repetition and start to get emotionally involved with it and start to consent and believe that those are true, and you thereby start changing your results. But you have to let go of what's around you. You have to let go of what you perceive to be true. The results in your bank account are just the results of past thinking. You can change that. And it's a lagging measure. It's going to take time before the image of wealth manifests in your heart and that you live from it so that it shows up in your bank account. But it will. And he says here, you must abandon yourself to your ideal as a woman abandons herself to love. For complete abandonment of self is the way to union with your ideal. This is another reason why being present in the moment is so important as well, because you're going to abandon the senses. You're going to abandon all of your thoughts, and you're just going to connect with oneness. You must assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled until your assumption has all the sensory vividness of reality. You can't just dream it once. Every single day you have to feed this vision until the vision starts to feed you. You have to build out the details and see it more and more clearly. Your vision of what you want, of what it's like to be happy, healthy, and wealthy needs to be more vivid than the surrounding influences coming in through your five senses. You must imagine you are already experiencing what you desire. That is, you must assume the feeling of the fulfillment of your desire until you are possessed by it, and this feeling crowds all other ideas out of your consciousness. The man who is not prepared for the conscious plunge into the assumption of the wish fulfilled in the faith that it is the only way to the realization of his dreams is not yet ready to live consciously by the law of assumption. Although there is no doubt that he does live by the law of assumption unconsciously. But for you who accept this principle and are ready to live by consciously assuming that your wish is already fulfilled, the adventure of life begins. To reach a higher level of conscious being, you must assume a higher concept of yourself. If you will not imagine yourself as other than what you are, then you remain as you are. Open quote for, if ye believe not that I am he, ye shall die in your sins. Close quote. If you do not believe that you are he, the person you want to be, then you remain as you are. You know, and I have a lot of people that come, like, step right up to the line of their dreams. Whether they choose to work with me or not, it doesn't really matter. But they something inside of them says that they can't do it. Not now, not yet. Maybe in the future. And they postpone their transformation. It actually gets worse for them. It gets worse for them because now they've made the choice to walk away from what it is that they want. Through the faithful, systematic cultivation of the feeling of the wish-fulfilled, desire becomes the promise of its own fulfillment. The assumption of the feeling of the wish fulfilled makes the future dream a present fact. So amazing. Okay, so we're reading in The Power of Awareness. That was chapter 4. I've got 2 more chapters I'm going to read. This is part of my own study again. So just resetting the room for everybody else that's joined. I am reading this through every single day for 30 days. This is day 4 for me, and I just wanted to come and share it because it's Tuesday. Also, if you love this, it'd be great for you to join into my workshop. You can register for free. I've got a workshop on March 7th through the 11th about living your legacy today. It's 5 days to reprogram your mind for success. You can do that in my bio on TikTok as well. Okay, chapter 5, the truth that sets you free. The drama of life is a psychological one in which all the conditions, circumstances, and events of your life are brought to pass by your assumptions. Since your life is determined by your assumptions, you are forced to recognize the fact that you are either a slave to your assumptions or their master. To become the master of your assumptions is the key to an undreamed future of happiness. You can attain the mastery by deliberate, conscious control of your imagination. You determine your assumptions in this way. Listen up. Here's the formula. Form a mental image, a picture of the state desired of the person you want to be. I bet you most of you don't even have an image of what it is that you want. You just want something different than what you see every day. And every day you see it and go, I don't want this. And you say it with such emotion. And the assumption is that you can't change anything and things are not going to change. So tomorrow they become even worse. And you hate tomorrow even more than you did today. You're already operating on the assumption. Okay? You have to form a mental picture of the state desired of the person you want to be. And then you concentrate your attention upon the feeling that you already are that person. Most of us can't concentrate our attention because we just flip through TikTok so much, or we change the channels. We can't have sustained, focused attention. You know, kudos to you guys if you've stayed for the entire 50 minutes of this so far, because most people don't have that attention. So you first visualize the picture in your consciousness and then feel yourself to be in that state as though it actually formed your surrounding world. By your imagination, that which was a mere mental image is changed into seemingly solid reality. The great secret is a controlled imagination as well as sustained attention firmly and repeatedly focused on the object to be accomplished. Focus on it and feel it. Most of us don't have control over our emotions. We react to things at the drop of the hat. We live in a world of outrage more than that of the wish fulfilled. It cannot be emphasized too much that by creating an ideal within your mental sphere, by assuming that you are already that ideal, you identify yourself with it and thereby transform yourself into its image. Here's a question for you to ask yourself today. What do you identify yourself with? I bet you for the vast majority of you, because I live this way, in fact, I still live this way to some degree. Without my problems, who would I be? What would I do when I wake up in the morning? Most of us identify ourselves with our problems, not with what we want, not with our goals, not with our dreams. This was called by the ancient teachers subjection to the will of God, or resting in the Lord. And the only true test of resting in the Lord is that all who do rest are inevitably transformed into the image of that in which they rest. You become according to your resigned will, and your resigned will is the concept of yourself and all that you consent and accept to be as true. You, assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled and continuing therein, take upon yourself the results of that state. Not assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you are ever free of the results. When you understand the redemptive function of imagination, you hold in your hands the key to the solution for all of your problems. Every phase of your life is made by the exercise of your imagination. Determined imagination alone is the means of progress in the fulfilling of your dreams. It is the beginning and end of all creating. The great secret is a controlled imagination and a well-sustained attention firmly and repeatedly focused on the feeling of the wish fulfilled until it fills the mind and crowds all other ideas out of consciousness. What greater gifts could be given you than to be told the truth that will set you free? The truth that sets you free is you can experience in imagination what you desire to experience in reality. And by maintaining this experience in imagination, your desire will become an actuality. You are limited only by your uncontrolled imagination and lack of attention to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. My mentor and good friend Bob Proctor, that had passed away, used to say that we are limited only by poverty of imagination and weakness of attention. And this is it right here. Again, this is The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard. Weakness of imagination. Most people have a weak imagination. Why? We're told not to daydream. This is, back here it says, I got a plaque that says, "Don't quit your daydream." And then weakness of attention. When imagination is not controlled and attention not steadied on the feeling of the wish fulfilled, then no amount of prayer, piety, or invocation will produce the desired effect. When you can call up at will whatsoever image you please, when the forms of your imagination are as vivid to you as the forms of nature, you are master of your fate. Open quote, visions of beauty and splendor, forms of a long lost race, sounds and faces and voices from the fourth dimension of space, and on through the universe boundless, our thoughts so lightning shod. Some call it imagination and others call it God. Okay, last chapter. So just to reset the room again, I'm reading from The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard. It's one of my favorite books. I've read it before. I've read it and studied it before and highlighted things in it. But I myself have given me the reading challenge of reading these first 6 chapters aloud every single day for 30 days. This is day 4. And also, for those of you just joining, I've got a workshop coming up March 7th through 11th to talk more about reprogramming your mind. Would love to have you guys come to that as well. Let's read this last chapter. Chapter 6, attention. Open quote, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways, close quote. That's James 1:8. Attention is forceful in proportion to the narrowness of its focus. That is, when it is obsessed with a single idea or sensation. It is steadied and powerfully focused only by an adjustment of the mind as permits you to see one thing only. For you steady your attention and increase its power by confining it. Right? You got to focus on one thing, not everything all at once. One thing at a time. Increase the focus of attention and emotion, of concentration. Again, my mentor, Bob Proctor, would say often that concentration increases amplitude of vibration. When you focus on something, you become one with that thing. Right? Because we are one. Consciousness is one, not divisional, though manifesting in legions of forms and concepts of self. The desire which realizes itself is always a desire upon which attention is exclusively concentrated, for an idea is endowed with power only in proportion to the degree of attention fixed on it. Concentrated observation is the attentive attitude directed towards some specific end. The attentive attitude involves selection, for when you pay attention, it signifies that you have decided to focus your attention on one object or state rather than another. Most of us complain about what we don't want. That's where we focus all of our attention, on that which we don't want, and we give more energy to it. We need to quit talking about it. We need to quit thinking about it. We need to quit trying to convince other people to solve the problem in conditions, circumstances, and events outside of us. We instead need to focus our attention on what we want for ourselves. Therefore, when you know what you want, you must deliberately focus your attention on the feeling of your wish fulfilled until that feeling fills the mind and crowds all other ideas out of your consciousness. That's about the 3rd time he said that. What is in your conscious awareness? Where do you focus your attention? Not nearly enough on your inner growth, on who you are and what you want. Am I right? The power of attention is the measure of your inner force. Concentrated observation of the one thing shuts out other things and causes them to disappear. The great secret of success is to focus the attention on the feeling of the wish fulfilled without permitting any distraction. All progress depends upon it with an increase of intention. The ideas which impel you to action are those which dominate your consciousness, those which possess the attention. This is why meditation is important, so that we can develop those faculties of mind to be able to concentrate on what it is that we want. Without that ability to concentrate and use our will, to use our imagination, we're never going to be able to change our reality. So meditating, being in the present, far more important than worrying about conditions and circumstances or watching the news or being obsessed with what happens in the Ukraine or whatever kind of other nonsense is happening in the world. And I don't say nonsense to say that, let's say, people in Ukraine shouldn't be focused on it, but what are we doing by allowing that to possess our attention? Unless you're going to do something about it and actually change something and be of service to the world, even in a political sense. But in a world rife with division, you should focus on the oneness in yourself, the oneness in your mind, the oneness of your attention, the oneness of your imagination about what it is that you truly desire. And what do we really want? We really want to be free of all this other stuff that's happening in the world. Open quote, "This one thing I do, forgetting those things that are behind, I press forward toward the mark." Close quote. This means you. This one thing you can do, forgetting those things that are behind. You can press toward the mark of fulfilling your mind with the feeling of the wish fulfilled. To the unenlightened man, this will seem to be all fantasy, yet all progress comes from those who do not take the accepted view, nor accept the world as it is. Right? Anytime that we've had progress in our lives, or that we've seen in the world at large, any advancements, innovations, it's because someone looks at the world and rejects what's there and says, I can imagine something different, something better, and they go to create it. That's how we created the planes. That's how man got to the top of Everest. That's how we got to the moon. As we stated heretofore, if you can imagine what you please, and if the forms of your thought are as vivid as the forms of nature, you are, by virtue of power of your imagination, master of your fate. Can you imagine something with such crystal clarity that you can smell the scent of the new car that you sit in, that you can feel the warmth of the sun on your body as you're sitting on the beach, that you can hear the birds in the forest and the mountains, that you can taste the clean air on your tongue? If you don't have the imagination to be able to do those things, it's because you've never strengthened that faculty. And when you do, when you can imagine things with greater clarity, emotional and mental sharpness than what nature gives you through your five senses, that's when you create your life. Your imagination is you, yourself, and the world as your imagination sees the real world. When you set out to master the movements of attention, which must be done if you would successfully alter the course of observed events, it is then you realize how little control you exercise over your imagination and how much it is dominated by sensory impressions and by a drifting on the tides of idle moods. So as soon as you begin to focus your attention, you get to see how weak it really is. Most of us allow the five senses to control our life. Most of us allow what we imagine and what happens in our mind and where our attention goes based on how we react to something else outside of us, and how the news tells us to be reacting, or on how friends or family are emotionally reacting. That controls our attention. Now here's an exercise for you to do, and I've been trying to do this every night with different degrees of success. To aid in mastering the control of your attention, practice this exercise. Night after night, just before you drift off to sleep, strive to hold your attention on the activities of the day in reverse order. Focus your attention on the last thing you did, that is, getting into bed, and then move backwards in time over the events until you reach the first event of the day, getting out of bed. This is no easy exercise, but just as specific exercises greatly help in developing specific muscles, this will greatly help in developing the muscle of your attention. I've done this the last couple of nights, and I'm tired, and so I fall asleep before I get to the beginning of my day. But it's been a very interesting exercise. Your attention must be developed, controlled, and concentrated in order to change your concept of yourself successfully and thereby change your future. Imagination is able to do anything, but only according to the internal direction of your attention. If you persist night after night, sooner or later, you will awaken in yourself a center of power, which I look forward to, and become conscious of your greater self, the real you. Attention is developed by repeated exercise or habit. And through habit, an action becomes easier. And so, in course of time, gives rise to a facility or faculty which can then be put to higher uses. We're talking about the faculty of the will. It's one of your 6 conscious faculties in here. When you attain control of the internal direction of your attention, you will no longer stand in shallow water, but will launch into the deep of life. You will walk in the assumption of the wish fulfilled, as on a fountain more solid even than earth. End of chapter 6, Power of Awareness. Yes, hello from Mexico. I have been reading the first 6 chapters in the Power of Awareness. This is a reading challenge I've given myself to read these same 6 chapters aloud for 30 days in a row. This is day 4 for me. I wanted to come and share it today just because today's Tuesday, and see how I can help and serve you guys. Thanks for joining. I really appreciate it. I do have a workshop coming up soon, March 7th through the 11th. So just over 2 weeks away. I know I've had quite a lot of people that are already registered. This is going to be 5 days to reprogram your mind for success. This is going to be about living your legacy today. And we often don't think about legacy, or we think about it too far off, but we don't realize that we are living our legacy every single waking moment of every day. And that our legacy is built on the present moments that we're existing in right now. And what I'm going to be covering in there is some of these basic ideas. Right? Number one, that we cannot expect our growth or our legacy to happen by accident. We have to live by the law of intention. What we intend and pay attention to becomes our life and focuses. Growth doesn't happen by accident. We need to have a plan of growth, because the secret is in awareness. The power of awareness, the expansion of awareness. And if you are not doing something to expand your awareness every day, you are not growing, you are dying every day. And every day you wait, it becomes harder and harder to grow and change your awareness. I love how what Jim Rohn used to say. Says that, I believe he says something like this, I've often found that income rarely exceeds personal growth. Money is looking for a place to be invited and stay. And if you do not have that conscious awareness, that wealth consciousness, if you don't have consciousness of it, well, the amount of money you earn is going to decrease to meet your consciousness. And if you want to grow your income, you need to grow your consciousness to meet it. The $1 million doesn't come to you. You move to the $1 million. Right? So we have to be focused on the intention of growing our awareness at all times. That is personal growth, that is development, that is probably outside of traditional education. But education will teach you some things, but it does not teach you awareness. It teaches you how to read, remember, and repeat things. Your degree has less to do with your future than your mind does. Now, I came from a point where I was a career counselor, and I saw firsthand, because I used to focus so much on the words. If you don't have the right words on your resume, you're never going to get a better job. And when I started to see that people grabbed a belief on themselves that they could, the words on the resume became irrelevant. People started doing amazing things out of solely with their awareness. So we're going to focus that on day one. On day two, it is all going to be about your imagination, creating a vision of what you want. Now, I'm just curious, and we'll use twos. Who here listening right now, by a show of twos in the chats, who here knows really exactly what they want with crystal clarity, that they know what it is to the point where it can be seen? And I don't see a lot of twos here, so I bet you not many people, that you can see it, feel it, hear it, smell it, taste it with your imagination more than the outside world. That you can hear the vision in your life more clear than my words right now. So just a couple of twos. That's okay. It's a skill that you have to build. So let's use a different number. Let's use, well, the only number we really have today to use is 0. Actually, that's perfect. That's perfect. Instead, how about type in a 0? Type in a 0 if you know with clarity what you don't want. If you know exactly how it smells, how it tastes, how it feels, how it sounds. If you know with super clarity what you don't want. Here we go. Much more zeros coming up here. I want to give you hope, because if you know what you don't want, you're a step closer to knowing what you do want. So we're going to use that as a jumping off point to be able to help you guys build out the vision of what you do want in your life, because you have to see that vision. Okay, so I know those are going to be 2 of the days. I'm not sure where exactly I'll go, because I'm going to do 5 days of teaching, and then I'll do a Q&A on that Saturday as well. Okay, chances are I am probably going to cover your concept of self, along with fear, right? The chances are you don't believe that you are good enough or worthy enough or smart enough or capable enough to have what it is that you want. That is your concept of self, as Neville Goddard writes about. That you feel there is something off with yourself, and that is where you do not know who you truly are. So I want to teach that. Okay, who you truly are. And then I'm going to talk more about the mind, more about the stick person. This is the owner's manual to your mind and your body that you have probably never read or studied. And that's okay. Maybe you just got lost in the mail when you were born. I didn't have access to this. We need to study and understand how our mind works if we're ever supposed to be able to create anything else. So that's likely going to be day 4. And then possibly, day 5 might be talking about fear and how fear stops us. But there's so many other things. There is the principle of persistence, which I'm working with my clients on nonstop right now. If you do not understand the 4 pillars of persistence, there's no way you're going to be able to create anything of value in your life. So it might be persistence. It could be fear, maybe a combination. Also about the power of decision. My wife attended a writer's workshop last weekend here in Utah. And everybody, all these presenters, all these artists, all these musicians, all these writers said that you have to make a decision that you are going to show up as your best self and do what it is that you want to do. And without making that decision, nothing's going to change in your life. You see, these books, The Power of Awareness, Think and Grow Rich. I saw someone ask about the Master Key System. I got that right there on the bookshelf that I have read and studied and highlighted. These books aren't just theories, they are principles. And the most successful people in the world, they think this way already. They don't even know that they do it. For those of us that weren't born into this mindset, or that we haven't had mentors or people teaching us on how to live by it, we have to choose to grow in awareness. And the most successful people in the world all had some kind of mentorship. Someone that had greater awareness to help them adopt a new mindset. So this workshop, this free workshop, is going to be 5 days. That's kind of what I'll be teaching. I'm going to have worksheets. I need to tweak and finish the curriculum. I'll deliver it by email, but you can register for free through my TikTok, through my bio. You can register there and sign up for it. I'll send you emails and make sure where you can watch it. I'm going to stream it the same places I'm streaming this, streamed on Facebook in a private group, my Reprogram Your Mind group. I'll do it on LinkedIn. I'll do it on YouTube. I'll do it here on TikTok as well. Okay. And I want you guys to be able to come to this, work through the workbook, and start making changes for yourself, but also to ask questions, to get help. And and the whole thing is for free, and I'm not going to shortcut this workshop because it's free. I'm not going to restrict what I give you guys because it's free. So I want you to treat it as if you paid for it. I want you to do the exercises and worksheets, because if you do, you'll start to see yourself grow and change. And that's the most important thing, is you see the practicality. You see the practicality of this information. And if you do that, then maybe, hopefully, if you feel like this is of value to you and has affected you, and you feel like you want to take it elsewhere, then I'd invite you to consider what working with me looks like. And we can have a conversation about that. Okay, but come to the free workshop to learn for yourself. If you want to go farther, that's great. This is also going to be a special event coming up, because my mentor, the late Bob Proctor, there's me and him up here behind me, right there. He just passed away 2.5 weeks ago. And so I plan on paying tribute to Bob. Bob loved this book, The Power of Awareness. Bob read it all the time. I was part of a program where he was studying the same chapters in here, similar chapters, over and over again, and just would study and teach this all the time. It's part of what compelled me to read this for a reading challenge for myself. But I'll be paying tribute to him as well during this next workshop. And because of that, if anybody's watched with me or been interested in mentoring before, for the last couple of weeks here in this quarter, I'm offering some discounts on my services as well. But all of that is after you come to the workshop, after you put to test what it is that I've done and what I do to help people, that you've seen some changes and that you're committed to working on understanding who you are and growing your awareness, and that you're committed to doing the work to change your mind. And if that's something that you're interested in, please register and come along. We'd love to have you. Thank you, everybody. My wife has actually left for class this evening, and I've got my 3 kids to go parent and be with, my 3 boys. So I need to wrap up on this live. Thank you guys for everybody that joined. Thank you for the gifters. Thank you for everybody that stuck around on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube as well and commented. I hope to see you come to the workshop. And I'll probably be doing another live or so before then. I appreciate all my followers. Thank you so much for everything. We're getting closer and closer to 400,000 followers on TikTok, which is just freaking crazy. Not bad for a year of just playing around on this little app, sharing my thoughts. So thank you so much, everybody. Appreciate your questions and engagement. I will see you soon, and hopefully see you at March 7th for that workshop. All the best, everybody. Take care. Bye.